Self-care is not intuitive. In fact, it goes against many of the things that we have learned about ourselves, things we were raised to believe about work and ourselves in the world. I'm here to change that. I'm here to change the narrative and blow up the self-care box. I'm your host, Desiree Rue, licensed clinical social worker, self-care strategist, freelance writer, a lover, and a fighter. And I'm Self Cares AF. And this is Self Cares AF, the podcast. You ask me, and I answer the questions that get you out of the box and into the life that lights you up from the inside out. Hello, hello. How are you today? It's Desiree. I'm back, and it's time for us to have that conversation where we just start out disrupting everything that we think we know about self care and have that real conversation about how self care really works for us. So, this is Self Care AF, the podcast. I'm happy to be with you. Listen, every time that you tap in and come into this conversation with me, know that you are my self-care. You are stepping into a situation, literally my dream come true, to be able to take this information and put it out into the world, right? So that others may also benefit from the things that I have known. So thank you in advance for that. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of my day and a part of my self-care. How you doing? How are things? Did you have a good weekend? Um, what do you got planned for the week? Are you on your list? If this is your first time tuning in, know that I'm always going to ask you if you are on your own list. You know, the list of things to do, the list of priorities, the list of important things. And if you are not, get on it. Okay, this is me telling you get on your list. But I hope that you had a great weekend. You have a good week ahead, and that things have been going your way. And if not, eh, it's okay. We make lemon out of lemonade. No, we make lemonade out of lemons. Yeah, that part. So we do that, and meaning we take the chaos and we make it sweet. So make it sweet. Figure it out. Add some more sugar. Add some more fun, a little more rest, a few more no's, whatever you need to do. So I'm very happy to be in conversation with you again today. Talking about parenting and self care. So today's topic is around parenting. I recently read a essay in the New York Times that was penned by our U.S. Surgeon General. And he talked about it. He called it, well, the essay, Parents Are at Their Wits' End. We Can Do Better. And as I was reading through his essay where he shared, his own personal stories about, how he feels as a parent, as well as some statistics, which I will share with you in a moment, I thought about my own parenting, my own experience, and my new experience being a grandparent. I spent about 3 weeks with my grandson, and my new grandbaby and my bonus grandbaby, pretty much kind of with and without their parents. And I recognize not only in observing my son, who um, is the dad of these wonderful kids, and their moms, parent them, and how difficult it really was and is, not even was, is for them. And when I say difficult, meaning how watching them try to live their lives. These are young people, all under the age of 30, living their lives. They're professionals. They're both students. Both of them are in graduate school um, now. And then they're just young people. They're in sororities and fraternities. They have friends and family, just trying to be this whole person and including being a parent to a school-age child and now a newborn, right? And I'm watching them trying to put all the pieces together, and I'm seeing them extremely tired. I'm seeing them, love within their exhaustion. I'm seeing them always on the move and never really sitting down. And then there's me being a support, but also remembering when I was a single mom and having to do many of the things on my own. Um, Nothing I would do different as a parent, but it is certainly different when you do not have, that support, that person that you co parent with, that physical person. My son's dad lived in another state. We moved away. So, I just didn't have him. He was very much a part of my son's life, but it's just he wasn't there in our day to day. So it was just watching and remembering and seeing and being triggered. And then even being as the grandparent, being just a part of that and having my own feelings of emotional dysregulation and how the crying and all of those things, the crying, the not listening, all of the joys that come with parenthood, experiencing those in this second phase of my parental life. So, you know, it is a wonder. I thought that this article that the Surgeon General wrote was, really on time, very true, and very much a something that, for all of us to read and take note of. And as it turned out, we have a really great question that I'm going to answer about parenting and self care. But let me share with you some interesting tidbits from this article. Now, what the Surgeon General essentially is saying, and when he says that we can do better, it was really a call, a global call, not a call in terms of individuals. We can do better as individuals, but we can do better as a system in supporting parents in the workplace, in our communities, in our families, in our policies that really support parents, especially parents of younger children, to be able to parent without, uh, to provide the support and to be a resource. He said, in a recent study by the American Psychological Association revealed that 48% of parents say most days their stress is completely overwhelming, compared with 26% of other adults who reported the same. They are navigating traditional hardships of parenting, worrying about money and safety, struggling to get enough sleep, as well as new stressors, including omnipresent screens, the tablets, the cell phones, a youth mental health crisis, and widespread fear of the future. Now, I don't know who made up these 48% of parents, but I would imagine that if you were a part of this survey, if they'd have asked me, I probably would have made up that 48%. I probably would have been one of those people who feels that the stress is completely overwhelming. He also goes on to say the stress is tougher to manage when you feel you're on your own, which is why it's particularly concerning that so many parents, single parents most of all, report feeling lonelier than other adults. Additionally, parents are stretched for time. Compared with just a few decades ago, mothers and fathers spend more time working and more time caring for their children, leaving them less time for rest, leisure, and relationships. Stress, loneliness, and exhaustion can easily affect people's mental health and well being. And we know the mental health of parents has a direct impact on the mental health of children. We can do better. And as I like to say this, that the one thing when we talk about relationships, the only person in a relationship that we can ever control is ourselves. And so I want to talk about that part. I'm going to answer the question that was asked about that part that we can control ourselves. We must do better. We must have policies in our workplace, in our government that are a resource to parents and not create burden for parents to have to do it all. My son, as I said, my son has 3 children, 2 biological and 1 bonus, and we just had a new baby a month ago. And although he could have taken 8 weeks of paternity leave, which is amazing to be able to have paternity leave. I don't believe that there was paternity leave when he was born, but those 8 weeks of leave would have essentially been unpaid because he didn't have 8 weeks of PTO, paid time off, to use in that space. And so he had to make a choice. Do I take 8 weeks off with no pay, or do I, take a few days and go back to work? And that's what he chose, that option. And so when we talk about we can do better, having paid leave would have been amazing for him to be home. He'd still be there bonding and assisting and helping in that household. So, but now his time is split with, work and then coming home and doing his part. Long nights, long days, and I have a granddaughter, and she's much like her grandmother. She has a lot to say, and she doesn't always want to go to sleep at night. So, his nights are sometimes very long and not a lot of rest in there. So, again, when we talk about the we in totality, we're talking about policies, but those aren't always the things that we, unless you are in those positions, get to change. But in this conversation today, we're going to focus on us. So I'm going to share with you the question that I received. And I'm using my phone, which is so funny because I hate to see people reading from their phones because I'm old lady, right? I think you should have everything on your paper. And yes, this could have also been on my phone as I am holding up these sheets of paper, but I grew up watching the news when the news anchors would do this. They would take their papers and they would read their notes. And so that is what I want to do. So I printed mine out and I feel real special doing it. But I'm going to read this question that did come over in my email to you. It says, "Dear Desiree, thank you for your podcast. I am loving it." Okay. "And I appreciate your voice in self-care. I myself was tired of hearing the same things. I want to be self-care AF." Okay, let's go. "My question is about how to have self-care as a parent of young children. I'm exhausted most days and then feel bad when I want time to myself. I feel like I am failing my children. I want my children to know I love them always. I didn't always feel loved growing up. Help me, please. I'm tired of being tired. LOL." Signed, April P. April, thank you. I am so glad that you are enjoying this time, and that you appreciate my voice in this conversation, this self care conversation. And I too want you to be self care AF. That is the whole reason why I showed up today. So your question is about having self care as a parent of young children, and being exhausted and feeling bad about reaching your capacity by the time it's time for you to actually parent, do all the things that the parent does. I I noted that you said, "I didn't always feel loved growing up." And so it sounds like for you that is a big key component to your parenting, is doing everything necessary and possible so that your children feel like you love them. They know you love them and they feel like you love them. So I'm going to try to help you, at least to say this, that when we're talking about self care and parenting, it really goes back to that putting your mask on first. Putting your mask on first. And how do you do that when you have so many responsibilities, particularly to your children who they don't really care about your mask? My girlfriend and I used to say that we don't negotiate with terrorists. That's what we used to call our kids when we were talking to each other, trying to get support with like what? And so one of us would say, listen, we don't negotiate with terrorists. You tell him to go to bed, right? You tell him he got to go to bed right now. We don't care what he says. When he comes back in that room, tell him to go to bed. And so I say that to say that our kids are children, right? They're kids. All kids are self-interested. They want what they want. They want you, they want attention, they want to play, they want their snacks. Like wanting is it's a childish thing, beautiful, right? It's a beautiful way of being as a child to know that you can want things and that the people who love you and are responsible for you will give them to you. That is how children grow to have healthy expectations in the world. That is how they learn to trust processes and to be loved. And considering that you didn't always feel loved, that is probably a big driver to why you are putting all of the emphasis on taking care of your kids and none of the emphasis on taking care of yourself as a part of taking care of your children. So, what I would like to do is to offer you this. How do you do it? By putting yourself as one of the criteria for showing your children that you love them. Taking care of yourself, ensuring that you have the things that you need first. You need rest. Rest allows you to show up and have more capacity for those cries, for those requests. Okay? It allows you to have more patience. You're a different person when you've gotten a little sleep at night. You're a different person when you've had some time away and you come back, right? You're nicer. Mommy's nicer. Daddy is nicer. So, in making sure that you have the things that you need so that you can show up in the way that you want to, not just show up. Sure, you can be there in the physical body. You can cook, you can clean, you can make sure they have their coats, shoes, socks, everything, clothes clean, hair done. But there's a difference between being physically present and being emotionally present. And ensuring you get what you need helps you to be emotionally present. I'll share with you a conversation I was having with my own son just yesterday. We were talking about, well, I'm sorry, it wasn't yesterday, it was this morning because my son called me very early, very early, woke me up out of a great dream because, he still does that. He feels like he can just take all of my time, but I happily give it to him. But he called me early this morning, and so we were talking. Our 5-year-old is just starting kindergarten. And so we were talking about him and being in school and how things are shaping up for him. His second week in, so he's learning. He calls it the big boy school. So he's learning his new routines. And we were talking about the time that, what kind of time needs to be spent, like after school, doing things on the weekend. And I said this to him. I said, it is important that you spend certain time with him and that you take care of yourself to be able to do it. Because what happens is when you get home from work and you're tired, you're putting him in front of the TV, you're getting in front of the TV, not a lot of conversation is happening. He's getting dinner, he's getting a lot of things, but because you're really focused on working and grinding and building for your family. But what will happen is one day he's going to come to you and he's not going to remember that you were working and grinding. He's going to come to you and say, you never talked to me at home. You didn't, you never, all we did was watch TV. So I never got to know you and you never got to know me. And all you will be able to say was, well, listen, those things happen because, those shoes you had and those adventures you went on and we went to the fair and we ate good and you had Lunchables. He won't remember those things. So it's important that you take care of yourself so that you can be fully present and give him the things to remember. And I use my own self. I used him as an example because he always tells the story. He loves to tell the story about how his mom was always sleeping and or we ate at Boston Market every night. He loves to tell that story. Oh, we used to go to Boston Market. I think that, I used to think Boston Market was just our kitchen because I was a very busy person. I was a single mom. I had my own private practice at the time. So by the time it was time for us to get dinner, I had talked to, about 5 or 6 children who were having difficulties. I had done counseling. I was tired. I fed my son. We went home. But what he remembers is that he had Boston Market and he didn't have a cooked meal. And that's was his takeaway from it. Now, we go back and forth. He had a good childhood. He had one better than mine. But the thing is, it is better to show up in the way that you want to be there. At that time, I didn't know to give myself the things that I needed so that I had a little something extra to give him at the end of the day. So that Boston Market wasn't so plentiful because, I was in a place to prepare our meals. So I say, put your mask on first. How do you do that? Very small ways. Just little inhales of air fills your lungs the same. So in the morning, when you wake up, before you move to do anything for anyone else, while you are brushing your teeth, look at yourself and say, I'm amazing. I'm going to have a wonderful day. I'm beautiful. I'm kind. Start talking to yourself in a way that you are pouring into yourself. You have time for that. So then when you go out there and everything falls apart because nobody is doing anything that you told them to do to get you out of the house, April, on time, that they are messing up the routine, you have already poured into yourself first. You're able to be the gentle parent. You're able to say and explain more than once. Your accidents, don't is not the same explosive reaction when you're in a better place. So I say to start with you. Think about how you can start with yourself. Pray over yourself if you're a faithful woman. Whatever your faith is, pray for yourself first. And then pray for your children. Imagine and visualize what your day is going to look like, how you want to feel. Not the dread, because we can wake up expecting the dread, but what if you woke up and you just saw the chaos going on, but imagine yourself feeling relaxed. Imagine yourself feeling in a good space. Set yourself up. So that's a very simple answer to a complicated question, but it can be a start. It can be a start to your own conversation that you have with yourself. So I thank you for submitting that question, being open, sharing this piece of, your life and your frustration. It is not going to be easy. There is not one answer to wipe it all away. It is going to take daily, daily intention to help you to begin to give yourself what you need so that you can give your children what they need so that they can feel your love, the love that you have for them, and know that they're young. I don't know, you didn't say how old your kids were, but if they're young kids, well, I don't know. If they're 29-year-old like mine, they still are sort of the same. Very much self-interested. And that's okay. They're not going to always say thank you with that full heart of gratitude for a while. And that's okay. Because they're children and that's what kids do. So we allow them to be the children, but you want to give them the love is the way you can and the way you want to. Show up for them. So thank you again. And I hope that was helpful to you. Let me know. Reach back out. If you got another question or follow up to that, hit me up and maybe we'll put it back out and share it with our community. So thank you so much. And again, this ain't easy. Parenting is not for the weak. Even the Surgeon General said so. So good luck. And I look forward to talking with you again. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that today's episode has sparked an idea or challenged a long held belief or just moved the needle a little closer to what you want. Let's stay connected. Visit my website, sign up for my newsletter, hit me up on Instagram at Desi Eats and Travels, and tag me when you are being self-careish AF. I appreciate your time. Comment on this episode. You know your thoughts are important in these podcast streets. So comment, give me your feedback, and I will see you here again next week.